Okay, well, today we have a special treat. We have Gary Six, the Texas State Executive Director with Farm Service Agency, and Scott Reed, who I'm going to let you tell me, Scott. I always mess up your title. I know you're the commodity guy, but there's a better title than that, right?
I'm the Division Chief for the Commodity Compliance Division.
Well, my title is easier to understand. Today we're here to talk about seed cotton, and with the passage of the Bipartisan Budget Act earlier this year, obviously we're in Texas. Texas is #1 in cotton, so it's a big deal for us. That's a program that's really important for you to get implemented and get people signed up, and it's a big time program for us in the extension side to get the educational the word out, basically. So with that, let's talk about it. Everybody asks, what's seed cotton? What is seed cotton, Gary?
Seed cotton, as you mentioned, was passed with the Bipartisan Budget Act, and it's a way to get cotton back into the farm program. As you know, in 2014, it wasn't a covered commodity. The need came for it to become a covered commodity, and through this act, we chose to take those bases that used to be cotton bases, and with the old program turned into generic bases. Well, now with those generic bases, we have the opportunity to take those used to be cotton bases, turn them back into what we call seed cotton. And the owners are going to have the opportunity to come in and designate those seed cotton acres or seed cotton base. We're doing away with generic acres. We're going to call them commodity acres. And they're going to be able to adjust their commodity bases, and they'll have two options. One is they can take 80 to 100% of that cotton base now, and based on past plantings, what we call planted and considered planted, they can convert that into cotton base acres. Or number two, they have the option of using from the years 2009 to 2012 a history of what they've planted. So they could take those generic bases and move them where we kind of want them. We get them the option to move them around on that. Now, in no case are they ever going to be able to increase their total base. And by increase, I'm saying take their commodity bases now and add the generic base, and it'll never be over those acres, even if their plantings were above it. So that's good. And then it's going to be based on the seed cotton yield is going to be changed. And if you guys know, this is the first time since 1986 we've been able to go in and improve up a yield. So if you don't have a yield on the farm, then you can get up to 90% of what that yield is and participate in this year's farm program.
Yeah, that's important. One of the things that producers ask all the time, they say, we use seed cotton on the farm, but what does it mean to FSA? And then I say, well, I'm going to answer for you, and you tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
But it's both the lint and the seed from production. And basically, FSA isn't requiring anyone to prove up the seed portion of those yields. So y'all are using a formula, right?
Exactly, and I'm glad you brought that up because I've been asked the same question, and the only way that we can convert that formula is that we've had a cotton yield, what we call a countercyclical cotton yield, on the farm. And if you're going to prove a farm up, say you can prove 1,000 pounds to the acre, we're going to take that and multiply it times 2.4, and it converts it into that weight, the lint and the seed that you're talking about. So your cotton yields may go from 1,000 pounds to 2.4 thousand pounds.
Right. No, that's good. And I tell folks all the time that we used to think 52-cent cotton wasn't too good, but if you put them together and do that weighted average price, that'd be a really, really good price for seed cotton.
It'd be nice.
And that'd be higher than the reference price, which is 36.7. One of the things that I do this all the time, and I hate to use my hands, but that's the way I work. They've got three decisions: allocate the generic, decide whether they want to update their yield, and then pick a program protection, either PLC or ARC, for seed cotton, right?
Right.
Okay, so who makes those decisions?
Okay, to do the yield and the generic base acres, it's any owner of the farm can come in and designate those acres and update the yield process. And as far as deciding on who goes into the ARC program or the PLC program, an operator and the owners on the farm, everyone that's going to sign that contract can decide on where they want to go there.
And that's, so you mentioned owners and things like that. So here's the number one question is which county does a producer go to sign up for this program?
I've had that question asked before too, and it is the administrative county. Now some of them have said, but what if the farm is located in another county? And it has been decided that you sign up in the administrative county that you're in.
Okay. Well, let's give Scott a hard one here. So when I know FSA recently sent out, probably from Kansas City, sent out letters to producers that have generic base and said the letter was exactly what I was hoping was going to be in there. Matter of fact, first, you described the letter for our viewers.
So the letter that our producers received provides them with the planting history of the farm. It tells them what has been planted on the farm in those years of 2008 through 2012. Really, the years that really matter is the 2009 through 2012. If that history that's in that letter is incorrect, meaning that the acreage reports information that we have on file is wrong, then a producer needs to contact our office to get that acreage report data updated as soon as possible, because that planting history, as Gary said earlier, is what we use for planted and considered planting, and that determines how much cotton acres we can allocate, how much from the generic base we can allocate to seed cotton or whatever cover commodities that we have a history of planting for the farm.
Okay. One of the things that we've run across is the producers will say they're calling us and we're helping as many people as we possibly can, and they have the letter, but what other information do you think that they need to get a hold of before they can make this decision?
To help make the decision, like Gary said, there is a three-step process. We have the yield update. You're going to reallocate your base to determine what you want to do with that generic base. Do you want it to go to seed cotton or some other cover commodity based on your planting history? And then you have to make a decision of which two programs do you want to go into, PLC or Ark County. As Gary said, depending upon what step in the process you're doing, it determines who provides that information to FSA. But at the end of the day, the yield information, more than likely the operator of the farm or the producer on the farm is going to have that. AgriLife Extension has a decision tool that help producers decide which yields to increase, what to increase their cotton yield to, if you even can, if it's higher than what your currently CC yield is on the farm. What producers can do is either provide that information to FSA, and once you provide it to us, we're going to complete a 864 form in the office. That form is available online, but it's easier if the producer comes into our office to complete that form so it's actually loaded into our system, and then the producer can take it out for the landowner to sign. If the operator has a power of attorney in our office, he can sign the form on behalf of the landowner. Once we decide what that yield is, we load it onto an 865. The 865 form is what is going to be used to update the yield and allocate your generic base acres. That is the official form that is signed that we keep on file for all times. That form, as Gary said, the yield update and the allocation has to be done by the landowner. As I said a while ago, it can be done by a power of attorney if the operator has one, but if not, that would need to be mailed out and received back in our county office so that can be approved by the county committee. The county committee doesn't really approve the form, where they're just signing off that yes, the yield update and allocation has been done by the producer. Once that step's done, then we do the election part, which is where all the producers that are sharing in the base acres on the farm decide, do we want to do PLC or Ark County on our seed cotton base. That's a one-time election. Everybody has to sign that. So if a producer comes into our office and has everything that he needs, his yield information and knowing which option he wants to do for his reallocation, we can fill out the 865, all three parts at one time. And so if he doesn't have a power of attorney, he can walk out with one piece of paper to get his landowner to sign instead of making several trips to our county office.
Well, that's really helpful.
Is the theory behind it.
Yeah, no, that's great. one of the things that we've found in answering questions for producers is that there is a little bit of uncertainty or maybe just unclear. We talk about a choice of updating base acres, and I had a number of people call and say, I want to put it all in X. And we all know, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Scott. The law that was passed has very specific rules. Option 1 has 2 parts. Option 2 has 1 part. And it's only pertaining to the generic portion. You could have 1 million other acres of base on that farm number. I'm right that nothing else changes, right?
Nothing else changes. So you're correct. We're not changing the basis on the farm. All you're getting the opportunity to do is, if the farm has generic base, you are deciding to allocate that generic base using option 1 to seed cotton. The option 1 is going to use the higher of either 80% of your generic base would become seed cotton, with the other 20% becoming unallocated, or the higher of using your planting history of cotton for those 4 years that I said a while ago, of 2009 through 2012. What that average planting history is what you could increase or convert to seed cotton, not to go over what the current generic base on the farm is, because you can never increase bases. You can just go up to what you currently have. Option 2 is where a producer may not have a history of planting cotton, or he may have a history of planting cotton, but he also does a rotation, maybe cotton and corn. And he either has a corn base or he doesn't, and the producer wants to allocate some of his generic base to the corn. He could go option 2 to be able to base it off of his 4-year planting history and proration to allocate to those generic base acres. If he's done nothing but plant cotton for all 4 years, then it's all going to become generic base. But if he's done that rotation of corn and cotton, then based on proration, so many acres of the generic would become corn base and so many acres would become seed cotton base.
So that's the number one question I've gotten across the state was people wanted to allocate it to crops they hadn't grown during that 09 to 12 period, and I hurt their feelings by telling them that's not going to happen.
Right. If the easiest way for me to understand that, Dr. Outlaw, is that if you'll take cotton back to 2013, where we started the 2014 program, and they're trying to give cotton the same opportunities our other 21 commodities had. So if the producer can get in his mind, okay, let's go back to when it first started, and let's play like cotton was there. That's what we're trying to do, is bring cotton up even with the other 21 commodities.
And that's one of the other points. All the yield update is using the same exact rules that was used then.
That's why we go back to 2009 on the acres and 2008 on the production.
Right. With one other question I get every once in a while is people will call in and they'll start giving us their planted acre numbers, and they didn't plant cotton at any point in time during 09 to 12. And then I have to ask them the question. So, Scott, if a producer that has generic didn't plant any covered commodity, and there's 21, 22, 23, whatever the number is, there's a lot of them, at least 1 acre of a covered commodity between 09 and 16, what happens?
So a producer is required to plant a covered commodity for the generic base to be able to allocate using either option 1 or option 2. If the producer did not plant a covered commodity from 2009 through 2016, then the generic base all becomes unassigned.
And for my purposes, I don't. The expectation is, at least as far as we know in the rules, unassigned won't be getting paid, at least in this farm bill, and likely not ever. Is that your understanding?
I can't speak of the next farm bill, but as for the current program, no, we will not pay on unassigned base acres.
So the biggest question we have, and there's been some confusion between me and you even on sign up. Announced sign up initially, it was September 28th, and there still is a sign up on September 28th if it's the right conditions. So y'all need to inform the viewers how this works.
I could take that
I'll
one.
let you have it, Gary.
The reason I'd like to take it is I've had several phone calls on that, as you well know. And the The sign-up, if you do not have any generic base involved at all, the sign-up period deadline is September 28th. If you have a generic base involved on the farm at all, you have till December 7th to sign it all up. Now then, if I could, I would like to make a remark here. We're very proud of our association and our partnership with AgriLife. In our meetings, which are going on as we speak today, AgriLife is responsible or taking on the responsibility of educating the producers on the economic side of the program. Here's what's best if you do this at this certain time. The problem lies in is that on our side, we deal with the program side. And so while he's very correct in what they're telling our producers, we also have to be diligent in telling the producers that if you don't meet the deadlines, September 28th for non-generic farms, December 7th for generic farms, if you miss those deadlines, your economics doesn't matter. So we have to get you in there, and it's impossible for us to have everyone wait the last 2 weeks and expect to get them in. Now, the point I want to point out is we're known for having extensions, and we're known for having registers, and we're known for having late filed applications. In the 2014 program, ARC PLC CO, we have not had any extensions, and there are no late filed provisions. So I would be derelict in my duties if I didn't tell the people, please pay attention to those deadlines.
Well, the reality of it is with all the help that Extension statewide is providing and our offices are providing with running decision aids for a lot of producers, there's no reason to wait. There is this small question about, if you think your county's going to fail out this year on cotton. But, those are very specific issues, and a timely rain out West Texas like we've just been getting recently changed that whole equation around. So I tell producers, if you think you've got some sort of special situation, you just get on the phone and call and talk to us about it, and we'll put it in there as you wish, and we'll run it as you wish. Just know that you probably don't know what the county yield is. You might know your yield was not too good, but you don't know the county yield, and that's what's going to trigger the ARC payment or not.
Well, and again, from my standpoint, AgriLife is invaluable for giving the model, allowing the producer to go in and playing around and seeing what can and can't happen. And y'all have resources that I don't have privilege to.
Wow.
And so I want to thank you for allowing us to do this.
It's been a long-term partnership, and while the person in Scott's chair has changed over time, many times, the working relationship has never suffered. So it's always been good. It's a two-way street as far as I'm concerned. With regard to wrapping things up, my only message is we need to get producers moved through and signed up. There is some question about, and I would like for one of y'all to handle this in the next 2 minutes probably. If someone goes in and makes a declaration of PLC or ARC County before December 7th, could they go and change that?
Yes, a producer can always change his mind up until December 7th. After December 7th, there is no changes.
Is there anything we forgot to cover?
Don't believe there is.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you.